Yeah, I think we're live.
This live.
Yeah,
Good.
this is it.
I I was expecting another view or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is live. Good. Good.
Yeah, yeah, we're already here. I hope so. Yeah. So if guys, if somebody has started watching, can you please like tell us that you hear us, you see us, if everything works, that would be really helpful. So I see the comments on the right. Do you see the comments by the way? No, you don't probably.
I don't know. I'm only the guest.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
only the guest. But
Okay.
it's fine. It's fine. You can have
Sure.
this part. Yes. Yes.
All right. So should we already start and people will just, join us, whenever they can. And if they can't, for example, join today, they can always watch the replay and so on. So yeah, I think we can already start, right? Because we have so much to talk about, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, guys. Hello, everyone who is watching and who will be watching. My name is Maria Glazanova. I'm a tech English communication coach. So basically, I work with tech guys. I help them skyrocket their careers by improving their communication skills. It's not about just English because English language is just the tool, okay? So, and today I'm excited to welcome Cyril Khan. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and so on?
Yeah. Thanks, Maria. So I'm Cyril. I'm from Switzerland, and a few years ago, like 7 years ago, I decided to switch careers into programming. And I basically had no bootcamp or formal degree, and I kind of had to piece this whole career just together. I call it inventing the career. So I went through the career change successfully, and I went to mid-level, then senior, and then I founded this company, Dev Kickstart, with my girlfriend, Manuela. She's also a developer. We made the same path. And now we are kind of into the careers. We switch into the career space and showing people, especially developers, how can they get more reach? How get companies like be interested in them, and how basically can they, in the long run, be of so much interest to companies that they don't have to submit resumes anymore. This would be the holy grail, but we will get to this in our talk today.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm already, I would say, like excited to hear more about that, right? So today we're going to talk about how to switch companies. And next week we're going to talk about how to rise through the ranks by while improving communication skills. We decided to split these two topics into two so we don't like need to rush and we can go into more depth into each topic. So yeah, I hope you will enjoy that too, guys. All right, so let's focus on the first part, right? Let's focus on how to switch companies topic, right? And of course, I think like my obvious first question is why can it be valuable to switch companies? Why not to stay, for example, in one company and just, like get promoted higher and higher? Yeah, so could you please talk about that?
Yes, it can definitely be valuable to do either the promotion route or to switch companies. With
Mhm.
developers, it's oftentimes sadly the case that the hiring budget of a company is higher than the retention budget. So you will see this when you go through junior, mid-level, senior levels, manager levels, and so on, engineering manager. Like the percentage you get more on, let's say, freedom, better work conditions, and better salaries is always small, or it's oftentimes smaller than if you switch the company. And this is why it can be beneficial if you're in a certain part of your career.
Mm,
Basically, if you are between junior and senior ish, already senior, it can be way more beneficial if you switch. later, it's
Mm.
also a lot about reputation. So if you want to rise higher and higher, there
Mhm.
are a lot of mid-sized companies or small companies where it's just not possible. You're already there. They don't have any higher possibilities to kind of promote you into, also salary wise. And then oftentimes they switch into those roles at big tech companies or mid-sized ish tech-ish companies where they have also maybe a large tech department. um, and then it becomes more and more of a promotional game. It could be, but in the beginning, for our target group, it's
Mhm.
especially valuable to switch and stay there for a few years to kind of get the
Mm.
experience, and then also have like this on your CV, and then sell this path, sell your whole career to the next company to get the next better job. So it's
Mhm.
a it's a game you have to play if this is your goal, and it can have like a huge payoff if you play it right.
And you said like if you play it right, and I understand that there are some rules of this game, right? Like for example, you mentioned you stay for a few years in one like position, right? Not like immediately, like you switch and then you switch again, So
Yeah, yeah, yes.
it also can be, I would say, so like sensible, like some sensible decisions there. So could you a little bit talk more about like the rules of the game that can be beneficial here, that can be really helpful to guys, to kind of consider.
Yes. So you always have to consider two factors. The
Hmm.
first factor is, at which level are you? You
Hmm.
have to then Google like certain, either for your specific sector, or also for if you're already the big tech company, they have very good uh, like lists, and they tell you this and this and this skill set is related to this level. But for most others, you basically have to search the internet and then see, okay, how good am I actually? How can I produce PRs at a certain level and contribute to the product, to the software product of my company? This is the first factor. So if you know where you are,
Uh-huh.
then it's way easier than to say, okay, how much longer do I have to stay at a company? Or better is not just time, but how much impact should I uh, make at a certain position to then be able to sell this impact for my switch? And the second factor is, where do I want to go? So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to go to a just regular, or let's say you are the mid-sized company, like
Mm-hmm.
500 employees, and you're, let's say, a mid-level developer, close to senior, then it would be very easy probably for you to go to a way smaller company, also to mid-level. You see, it would be like not a lateral move, but just a horizontal move, or maybe even slightly down. But if you want to go from there to
Mm.
like a high paying, like double your salary or something crazy like this, to Google or something like this, then it
Yeah.
would be, you would have to have way more impact there or before,
Mm.
or be way better in your data structure and algorithm skills to make this huge jump. So those are the two factors. Of course, there are other things that you also have to can do, which we will get into later, like all your online presence and how you kind of present yourself to potential employers. But
Mm.
those are the two factors. So where are you in your skill level and career,
Uh-huh.
and where do you want to go?
Mm.
So just to
Wow.
keep this in mind, those are the two like the basic rules of the game. If you don't know if you don't have an idea about those two factors, then
Mm-hmm.
you're just basically trying stuff out. You get a lot of rejections, and you don't know why. You don't know what to improve or why it doesn't work. Yeah.
Right, right. And when you are working on like understanding where you are, right? So what can help actually with this measurement, right?
For developers, it's not so hard. So for juniors, it's basically, can I go to mid level? Is, can I do more than extend the app? which we already have.
Uh-huh.
Am I able to create something from scratch? Can I do like a totally new page or a totally a new feature that
Right.
encapsulates maybe a month of work? Uh,
Mhm.
of course, divided into 10 PRs or whatever, 5, 6 PRs. Um, if you can do that, yes, then you're probably there, technically,
Mhm.
right? And
Okay.
technically,
All
then
right.
you can advance to the mid level, and then when you're in the mid level, it goes more and more into this leadership role. Can I also not only create feature sets from scratch,
Mm.
but can I also maybe mentor a junior or have an impact on the company, the team efficiency? How can I kind of leverage also my social skills more and more? And then the higher up you go, like senior level, and then team lead, tech lead, and then engineering manager, the whole leadership and social soft skills, social interpersonal skills are way more important, which is more like your area. Uh, and so you have to kind of know how many years did I already do, which is not such a good metric, but in the beginning, yes. If you're in your first year, yeah, you will probably not get a promotion to senior level. But then
Mm.
it's more about how good can I contribute technically, and
Mhm.
how few comments do I maybe get on my PRs? Are they
Mhm.
sound? Do the features not break? Are they well tested? And all of those software related concepts. And then if you go higher up to senior level, did I also do more than just commit cool features? Because there's way more in a software company you have to master as a software developer than
Mhm.
just committing cool features. That's the case for a lot of hardcore techies. They sometimes don't want to see this, but basically that's it. Yes, if you go higher and higher, especially from mid to senior, team lead, and so on, then the soft skills, the leadership skills, become more and more important. So
Sure.
this is kind of how you can see yourself. Okay, where am I? How many years? 2 plus, and then how much impact did I have? And
Mhm.
then what is like a good step? Like it shouldn't be a small one, but it should also not be like a huge one. So where is a good middle ground that I think is like 20% beyond my reach? This is
Mm.
always my suggestion to my clients. Like 20% beyond your reach, this is a good goal. If you
I mean,
can get like a job anyway, I got this a lot by from senior developers, even mid level developers. They say, if you're at mid level or senior, we're in demand. Everyone needs software developers, so I don't have to think about all of the things you teach, like all of the CV related, and the whole game we now discussed, because there's demand. And then I always tell them, yes, but this is
Mm.
just demand for your current level. This is not a 20%, this is no
Mm.
big steps and your career doesn't go like this. No, no, no. This is just horizontal moves, yes. And then over time, you maybe get like more and more. This is the standard method. I mean, it's fine if you want to do this, if you just want to accumulate years, but
Yeah, I
it
understand.
doesn't scale at all. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
sure. It's just, just yesterday, I think I saw some interesting posts, and it was showing, like you kind of old you, like okay, not even current you, and you get like current you results, right? So you kind of not really going up. But if you would like different results, well, you need to become like new you, right? You need to acquire some new skills, some new knowledge, and so on. And I also definitely learned that, well, all this like technicalities and all this like coding stuff, it's just like super, super beginning. This is um, like you need so much more, like to create into your brand and, this marketing and, like, of course, communication skills and emotional intelligence. So much more, that just like comes like a layer as a layer as a layer. So you can make that jump, right? But I like that you make it like really specific, like 20%, that it's not like too crazy, because it can be, I think, I don't know, like really overwhelming, because you can get, for example, I don't know, tons of rejection and you're not really there, right? You're kind of, it can be like too much. So that's very, very interesting. Okay. And all right, and the next one, if for example you as a software senior software developer, you actually decide, right, to take this, step, okay, I would like to switch the company. So what would be the effective steps for that? So how can you get to like the real version, like new version of you, who get to this like 20 plus percent?
The first step is what we discussed, right? If you know where you are, and if you know what is like a reasonable 20% reach,
Mm-hmm.
through the self-assessment and through also your salary you have, you can then put such and such on top. You also have to research your area. People in the US, they have different salaries than people in Europe and so on. So you
Yeah.
have to maybe check levels FYI, levels.fyi, or other salary comparison sites. And there you can have a ton of filters where you can put in your basically all your metrics, your years of experience, but also how skilled you are, where you live exactly, which city. And then okay, this would be like a reasonable jump. And this is step one. So then we come into this, what you now asked is, you
Mm-hmm.
then have to prepare the static um, material first. So what I mean by this is everything that you don't have to update each time you approach like a company or something like this. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically your CV and your LinkedIn profile. So this is the static material. You do this first. If you don't do this first and you start applying and you kind of reach out to the recruiters and all of those methods, they will always see like you as your CV or your LinkedIn profile. And if this is bad or just not optimized at all, this is actually you. This is your sales letter as a potential employee. They don't see you as this person as you actually are, because you're a very multifaceted person, right? You have a lot of interest and everything. But for the recruiter or for the company, if they see your LinkedIn profile and it just looks bad, or your CV, and it just looks, it doesn't convey your value at all, then that's over. That's it. Then you get the rejection right away. So
Sure, because
first,
basically, sorry, I just like wanted to a little bit jump in, because here is where the communication skills already start, right? Because you need to understand that you need to communicate your value already at this point, like, and make you really stand out, right, for these people as well, right? So yeah, so sorry, yeah. So what is step one?
correct. So um, you should start with your CV first,
Mm,
because your LinkedIn profile is basically just your online CV, but your letter CV, this is basically the thing you should start first. And there are some rules you have to take care of in tech. It's a little bit different than maybe in other sectors. And
mm,
also, it's a little bit different in the US versus in Europe, which I personally think the US is a little bit ahead of us regarding those rules about not displaying the age or anything bias related. In
mm,
Europe, it's common to add a picture, like a nice picture of yourself. And
mhm,
I live in Switzerland, so I thought this is totally normal. I realized, in other countries they don't have this, and this is actually better. I'm totally convinced now, because
without
if you have,
or with
without the picture, yes,
other
without the picture, without your age, without anything that would give away like more than you should regarding towards your role. It should
people.
only be like a sales letter regarding your role, your target role, where you apply to. And
Mm,
uh, those in the US, it's standard. And
Mm-hmm.
in Europe, it's a little mixed. So I think the US is ahead of us a little bit in this regard.
Getting there, right?
Yes, yes. And we could get into like rules how to create the CV. But basically, you once you have your CV, you will then use this as a template for your LinkedIn profile, which is basically just an extended CV where you don't have to care about space because it's you can scroll through it. You can basically put everything not customized like a customized version of your CV for a company. It's an uncustomized version for a much broader like set of companies on your LinkedIn profile. Then you have the static materials, and then you can kind of go into the dynamic materials, which we can touch on later.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting actually about like CV and LinkedIn profile that um like what you talked about the impact, right? So you stay, for example, in one job for some period of time and then you create some so you create enough impact, then you can showcase, right, in your CV and make it like really, really clear. I think this is one of the most like I don't know, like actionable tips, right, that you can do and kind of use it also in some with some kind of metrics like measurable, right, like what exactly you've done and you know how, yeah, basically about the impact. Yeah, what do you think, what should be really like on the CV, like for sure, you know, and yeah, maybe some tips there.
So what you mentioned is a good point. Your work for your CV doesn't start when you decide to switch companies. It starts at the first day of your company work, kind of. On the first day. Yeah, yeah, you have onboarding. Let's say in the first month,
Mm-hmm.
because you will realize that on your CV there's an experience section, and you have to then show the impact, as you mentioned. And if you didn't log your impact, the change you created in the company, the value you created throughout all of your work, to do this retrospectively is really hard, especially because
Mm-hmm.
um, everyone can just write, yeah, yeah, I wrote, I made these and these features and so on. But
Mm-hmm.
good CVs have measurable impact on them, and not just like invented ones. Like if you do it right, you will start at a new company, already having in mind that this is only a part of your career. Even if you stay 10 years, we are not in the like age anymore where you will have one company and
Yeah.
basically until you're retired. This is not our reality anymore. So you have to keep in mind this is for a certain period of my life,
Yeah.
maybe from 2 to I don't know what 10 years. And but
Yeah.
you having this in mind, log everything that you successfully added to the company, right? Your kind of your learning path, uh, everything you progressed through. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have this log of achievements, I call it the achievements list. Can be a Google Docs, can be in like a Google Sheet or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
With the numbers, like you then always ask your superior, hey, what I did, um,
Mm-hmm.
and how did it differ to what I did like a month before? In software development, oftentimes you have one-on-ones, like
Mm-hmm.
as part of the Scrum methodology, or just as a like if you have OKRs or something like this at your company, you have one-on-ones weekly or monthly and so on, and then you can actually have a talk with your manager, your maybe a senior dev or whatever, and he or she will then tell you, okay, you're here and here, and the impact you had was this and this, and you could actually also use tools like Web Vitals for front end, where you can add a plugin and then see the difference. Maybe you added a cool feature, did some refactoring, now the app runs faster. Then you see the change that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
your PR, right? And then you can put it on your achievements list. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
10%, 10% faster app here. I reduced workload of the juniors here because I've introduced like a
Mm-hmm.
good documentation, whatever it is, right? And if you have this achievements list, then you have like the information to then create a cool and effective CV and LinkedIn profile.
Sure, so much easier. I remember that I listened to some live by Jordan Cutler and Irena Stanescu about like leadership, and Jordan he mentioned this that you can even like in Slack, for example, they have like a lot of communication, right? And you can just make sure like make your work already visible, you know, what you're doing, what you're working on, what is the progress, what you actually finished, right? So you kind of keep not only for yourself, you know, you keep yourself, you know, the track, but you also make it kind of really visible for the managers. Well, he was also talking in the context if you would like to move within the company, right, into some promotion, right? Definitely this is helpful, right? But yeah, you can kind of work both ways, you know. You know, and then like keeping in mind that at some point you will need to you will want actually to switch maybe the company, but you will have all this information already like ready in front of you, and it will be so much easier for you to establish like to create, you know, the CV on LinkedIn profile, right? Yeah, so this is I think really cool idea, I would say. What can be helpful, right? Like a tip. All right, and what about the LinkedIn profile? So can you tell us a little bit more? What are the hacks there?
Actually, I would also prefer to maybe say something about the CV itself. I just now told you how to prepare to create the CV, but not actually how to write it.
Yeah,
If we
yeah,
want to go into this first. So,
absolutely.
and even before, like what Jordan Cutler said, basically, and also Jordan Cutler is a cool guy. Follow him. He does good work, really. I'm also a fan. And he's of course right. So you don't only have to create like internal documents for yourself where you kind of have a list of achievements, but
Mhm,
also create those documentations I talked about for juniors or whatever.
mhm,
Your achievements should also help your team. And if you want to have more impact, of course, you need to publish your findings. It's not
mhm.
only like the PRs you create that will then be merged into your app, but all the other work. It should be more of your work be findable, searchable throughout the company internal tools, and they see, okay, he or
Nice.
she did a lot here, and you can then also leverage this internally. But let's
Mhm,
go to the CV itself. So you have your achievements, cool.
mhm,
Then there's like some basic rules you have to adhere to make them as effective as possible.
mhm.
So what you have to know is this TV is like a sales opportunity for yourself to sell yourself at your actual value. You can't, yeah, the point is this: people think they can kind of create this magical CV and it will kind of boost their value tenfold or something like this.
Yeah, or like I have never been, you know, so like cool as in my CV, you know, like the best
Yes,
version of myself, but it's kind of a little bit like stretched, right? A little bit, you know. So, yeah, yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. So you should you think about this. Most people that don't kind of put effort into their CVs, they sell themselves below their value, below what they actually could do.
Oh, not like over, right? But
Not
below.
over, no, no, no.
Okay,
If you do like if you have the perfect CV, it should sell you at what you where you actually are,
okay.
because they don't, it's not so easy to create a document that actually holds all the value that is relevant to the recruiter or to HR of your target company. And this is now an important thought we have to hold in our minds when we now consider this. You have to create this CV to be as like easily digestible as possible
Okay.
for the reader, for the recruiter, for the HR manager.
Mm,
So do like one column, no fancy template. Those are just some basic rules. No fancy template. And
mm-hmm.
then basically you need the following sections. You need your name, your target title, what do you want to apply for, right? like
Mm-hmm.
your location and links, like to your maybe
Mm-hmm.
blog, and for sure to your LinkedIn profile, right? This is
Oh,
all in the top few few percentage of your first page. Don't highlight the links in blue because they will attract the attention to them. It's only a link, so make them black, like or your other like your other font color. And
mm-hmm.
then for senior engineers, you will then have a summary where you kind
Mm-hmm.
of give like the best of in a few sentences about yourself and also your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
This summary will then correlate to the about section in
Mm-hmm.
your LinkedIn profile, which we will touch on later. So you have again your title and then your links, location and links, then your summary, best
Mm-hmm.
of your impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Languages and technologies, next section. Uh, then work experience, and then comes education, and then also there's maybe interest and like some minor categories. But this is like the very simple design of your CV. No multi columns, no graphs. Don't rate yourself like I'm 4 out of 5 in TypeScript or whatever. Don't do this. No,
Okay.
no self rating. Yes, no self rating because it's what does this mean? If you have 4 out of 5 or 80%, it either
Mm-hmm.
means like you why did why you're not there? Where are these 20%? And on the other hand, like, is this true? How did you measure this? Do you just put something there? So no graphs,
Mm-hmm.
no self-evaluation, like checkbox, nothing like this. Just one column, the different sections I just talked about, and then it matters to which company type you are applying to.
Right. And should you also customize? I would say, like, because like the company type and the position, for example, right? Should you customize also?
Exactly. So there are, I mean, there are 3 factors, but we now already established candidates for senior developers. It depends also if you're a junior, mid-level, senior, and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there are several things you have to change. For example, for juniors, it's way more important to maybe show their projects, their deployed projects, and so on, and maybe their education if they have a degree. Uh, while on the other hand, for seniors, it's not so much important anymore if they're 5 or 7 years into the field. If they had good grades at university, yeah, no, it's not unimportant, but the work experience has to then come first. But
Mm-hmm.
let's just establish that we are talking about a mid-level to senior software developer.
Mm-hmm.
Then you basically have to, um, if you will apply to a company that is like a major, like the GAFA companies, like Google, Facebook, and so on, you
Mm-hmm.
have to analyze their job description and then see, okay, for Google and Facebook, it's obviously like it's a big tech company, but you will see, okay, is this company searching for a generalist or a specialist? If they want a generalist, they will often have things in their job description that is more like one of the following languages you should be proficient in at this and this level, and it will maybe say Java and Python, something that not like is are two different software worlds developing wise, but
Mm-hmm.
they're basically telling you, hey, we are searching a generalist. While for other tech companies, they will have like a specific tech stack there. Maybe startups that are already bigger or like other mid-sized companies, they will tell you, hey, we need a Java engineer with Spring Boot, this and this years of experience, blah, blah, blah. So they are telling you exactly what they want and they are searching for a specialist. So we have generalist, specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and for a generalist, you have to then kind of give like all the answers they want to know regarding the technologies. So if you're a generalist, you can probably then add like, yes, I'm proficient in Python, but I also worked in Java for like 2 years. um, and you then craft your whole CV towards this, hey, I can learn fast, and I don't have to then tell you exactly I I did this and this technology for so many years and so on, because they don't care. They just want to know, hey,
All
he
right.
or she, yes, he or she is good, and we can kind of also use this person in different departments, because this is probably what will happen. While on the other hand, if you're applying to a specialist company, you should really look what they display on their job description, and then
Mm-hmm.
match your experience as close as possible to this description, and then
Right.
also highlight the impact you had with
Mm-hmm.
especially those technologies in your work experience section. So you will then also say, hey, because I used this and this framework that they want, right? And I used this in this project. It got this results, some percentages increased. I don't know what, some work hours were reduced because of my work with especially this tech stack. And so your CV will then change a lot regarding the specialist generalist diversification and distinction, sorry, and also then from company to company if it's a specialist company, right? You can't then copy paste the same tech stack if they search something slightly different. You then have to then highlight what you can also do for
Mm-hmm.
each of the specialist positions you apply to.
And maybe also you
Yeah.
can think in advance, right? Like where, in which direction you would like to go, for example, and already just work and customize your CV toward that, right? And not to maybe apply for both, right? So it's maybe not the best strategy, right? Kind of to be or there or generalist or specialist. You kind of, it's better to, as I understand, more like concentrate on something, right?
It's best if you have like a
Variety.
master version. We call it the master version. Let's say.
Okay.
There's a little controversy with the master keyword, but like with Git, every developer knows Git, right? So they changed the main branch of they don't call it master, they call it main anymore, because they think that has too close of a relation to I think slavery from, I don't know what, something like this. So we just, yeah, no, it's true. So your main version, where you have everything on it, uncustomized, just everything that
Okay.
you had as an impact right before in your work experience. And
Mm-hmm.
then you search the companies you want to apply to, and you will create a generalist version, a generalist main version, and the specialist main version, and then you start customizing these
Uh-huh.
with like the information of your main version.
Okay. All right,
So
all
you
right.
can go back and have everything. Yeah.
Oh, perfect, perfect. All right. So I think we've covered like a lot about CV, right? And maybe let's move a little bit more into the direction of LinkedIn profile, because there are a lot of, I believe, hacks there as well, right? So what would you recommend there? And
Yeah.
why is it important also, right?
LinkedIn is important because
Mm-hmm.
it is your global billboard. If you only send your CV, submit it one by one, it's not scalable, right? So you have to do like the customization work each time, and you can't kind of be found from one company. They can't, like Daimler or can't then ask BMW, hey, did this person apply? No, there's no communication
Yeah.
between. But for LinkedIn, it's your personal brand. So you invest in your personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
You create a LinkedIn profile, and then once you have your CV, a lot of those things are transferable to your LinkedIn profile. For example, the summary, which is touched on, is basically the start of your about section. You have there more space to talk about yourself, talk about your impact you had, and then how people can connect with you. Always add a call to action at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what will people see in the beginning is your banner, headline, your picture, and
Mm.
your location. So I just released a video, I think a day ago or 2 days ago, where I improved a LinkedIn profile header of a senior developer from Malta. And there are certain things you can look look after. For example, you have to have a really catchy banner that
Mm-hmm.
kind of conveys your value. What are you about? And kind of it keeps the reader on your profile. The reader is a recruiter, HR
Yeah.
employees.
So you definitely need to think about like how you can stand out, how you can communicate your like core message, right? And who you are as a software developer. There is a lot of thinking, right? Before you actually establish that. And I noticed that not I would say all developers with whom, for example, I have worked, they realize how important, this branding, this positioning, this marketing and everything actually is. Yeah. So they like, okay, they kind of, okay, started to go into that direction, realizing, okay, this is especially in nowadays, fast changing world, everything is just like so rapid with all this like technical world and so on. So you gotta really be multifaceted, right? And like in different directions. And yeah, really take care, like be a leader, right? And no matter at what position you are. That's what I liked also by Irina Stanesco when she shared that you gotta be leader no matter what position you're taking. You can be an intern, but you can, you have this like leadership mindset, what would the leader do, and you kind of approach that from this position and also take actions, right? And well, this concerns everything, right? Your CV, your, I don't know, LinkedIn profile and so on. So like the recruiter just, sees, for example, your page and is like, oh, okay, that's, you just like a little bit like not like jump from the page, but like they understand, okay, this is like a serious person who is like taking care of, his business in a way, right? Yeah. So could you share more about LinkedIn?
Yes. So make sure you have a nice picture. You could also have it taken professionally. Make sure it's not with a homogeneous background or just more or less a neutral background. Smile, have something like wear something professionally ish, and then have a headline that kind of entails everything that the search engine LinkedIn needs to know. So there are 3 points that should be in there: your current level and company. Let's say you're a senior software developer, not mid-level or junior, whatever. By the way, don't write junior. You're a senior software developer at whatever company you are working right now. And the second thing is, in which sector are you working? So, are you working in fintech? Are you working in retail tech? Where are you working? Because it's easier for you to get a job in the same industry because it repeats thing like the environment. If it's similar, employers, companies like it if they can hire someone that already knows like the industry a little bit. I was always in fintech,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the end, I thought, why was I always in fintech? Yeah, because it was easier to kind of go into a new app, and then they had basically the same, very similar concepts again in fintech. A lot of this is with transactional based stuff, and so I could add value there because I knew we did this already similarly at the previous company. So again, your level, your experience level, and your company, then your sector where you work in, and then your tech stack. Are you working with Java? Are you working with Java Spring Boot, like front end React? What are you what are you proficient in? Because recruiters and HR managers, they will go onto LinkedIn and they will type in software developer Java Spring Boot. And
Mm-hmm.
if this is not in your headline, you will not come up, or you will come up very like low on the list. So it should be in your headline to be found, because this is probably your goal, right? To get the next
Sure,
position. And yeah, LinkedIn search works that way.
sure. Yes, yes. And also recommendation sessions. So like they can also see what it's like working with you, what like how collaborative you are, like different like interpersonal, collaborative experiences that people had with you, or how, I mean, people are can write like different kind of recommendations, right? So what it is working with you, because that's what recruiters also, I would say, consider, right? And also on LinkedIn, what I think the best part, like personally for me, is the networking, because like once you set up everything right, you position yourself right, you like share all the information about yourself, then you actually go out in a way and start networking with people. And what you mentioned before, I really love that, that you also like in this sharing mindset, right? You have some expertise and you can also share that, so, and of course like learn from other people, so like go around and just building relationships basically. I also heard from some of my, for example, clients that they mentioned that in a lot of cases they got their jobs not thanks to just like manually sending some resumes, I mean CVs and everything, but through the networking. So it was like a huge force for them, where they actually got a lot of chances for that. So I would definitely kind of look into that part as well, right? What do you think?
Definitely, yes. This would then be the dynamic part. So we now
Right.
touched on like the static
Okay.
materials,
Oh, yeah, sure.
your LinkedIn profile, your CV, even though you have to customize it, of course, to each company you apply to. But
Mm-hmm.
now the dynamic part is kind of your personal brand. So you have your LinkedIn profile as basically your landing page, your professional landing
Mm-hmm.
page, your
Yeah.
professional life.
Good, yeah, good.
Then how can you now leverage this so in the end the hiring process is easier and easier for you? So there are basically two things. One is the amount of connections, the amount of, and quality of connections you have, right? If you start out on LinkedIn, you just create the profile. You maybe implement all of the things we now discussed on and even more. Um, then you have maybe cool static materials, but you have no reach. No one knows about you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can
Indeed,
do,
right.
sorry?
No engagement, no reach,
You have
right?
nothing. Yeah, you have it there. You can be found, but basically no one knows about you.
Mm-hmm.
So you will need then again two things. You need connections and you
Mm-hmm.
need trust. So you should probably, if you're still employed, you can start this way. You won't turn on, do not turn on creator mode. Just have your regular profile, no creator mode, don't create content. And you search on LinkedIn search for uh, senior software devs in your area. Basically, you want to have a connection, a network with a lot of similar people and maybe also HR, recruiters, and so on, in places you want to work in the future.
Mm-hmm.
This also goes for remote like positions. You should think first in which country and then kind of do your networking there. You send connection requests with
Mm-hmm.
nice notes, go through their profiles, find the commonality. You have something in common, something you find funny, interesting, and you kind of then craft this cool message. You can have a skeleton, of course, and then adjust it a little bit, like this customization we talked about on the CV. And then you do this, and you do this thousands of times. So you have probably time, like let's say you're working at a position for 2 years or
Mm-hmm.
maybe even longer. So invest really time into doing this, into getting into like two, 2.5, 3,000 connections. Not
Mm-hmm.
just not don't just add people. Like go into conversations with those people. Try to get to know them. It takes time. When I say like thousands, this is not just you can't do it in one weekend. It
Of
takes a lot
course,
of time.
of course. I also see that it's really helpful when like I also go to like my connections, right? Like of like tech guys, And I also go through their profile, and if I see some posts that I don't know resonate, maybe I have a question or something, so I also kind of post some comment or something. So this is, I would say, like much bigger opportunity, I would say, that the person also will like react in some way. And yeah, and it's also like interesting for me to learn more about, these people, I would say. So like this kind of commenting game is also pretty much, I don't know, like useful as I see it.
Definitely. So this is also a step you can take. Maybe first, you see this person, right? And then does this person also post? Go through their posts, maybe one that from this week even, and then add a comment, of course. Like it, add a comment, and don't just add some random, like, don't just write, hey, great tips, and then tag the
Yeah, yeah,
person. No, no, don't do
yeah.
this. Like, spend 5 minutes. Go into like, if you would research something and have to do a presentation in 5 minutes from now, how would you go about it? You would probably go on Google, you would
Mhm,
search like the topic they were talking about. What is there, what is he or she talking about, and then what books, what resources, what courses are there about this, and
mhm.
then you could add your something about your research as a comment. Hey, I found this cool thing, maybe you, it's also
That's
interesting for
value, right?
you.
Yeah.
Yes, you should add value, you should kind of extend their work they invested into their post, and then tag them also,
Hmm.
like at and their name, because a lot of content creators have their notifications turned off because they get a million notifications. So, but if you tag them, they maybe get it still,
Hmm.
and then you created a good comment. And you
Yeah.
created value, and this person is way more likely to then also engage with you in a conversation. And then
Hmm.
we come maybe into the last part of our session today, which is then you now have like more and more connections which have some quality, right? Not just random Facebook friends, as we called them like a decade ago. Like, we are not really friends, we're just Facebook friends. You're basically so but you had conversations with them. You know them a little bit, like on a professional level or even on a personal level, and then you start creating content yourself,
Hmm.
because you then already have maybe between 1,000 and 3,000 um, connections. You
Hmm.
will start creating content for about your learning path, what yeah, basically you want to convey your value through your posts so
Sure.
others find it also interesting. And this then scales. If you have like 1 to 3,000 connections, and they already know you, they're way more likely to also engage with your posts. That this increases now then the likelihood of the posts get more and more reach. Then turn on creator mode, because creator mode makes people it's easier for people to follow you because it displays the follow button first instead of the connect button.
Hmm.
So
Yes, yes.
you will get more and more followers, even from your 2 to 3,000 people, up. And then if you do this correctly, you will have to then learn how to write and create cool. This takes time, right? This is a long-term investment. But then what you will then see is, at a certain point, you have an optimized LinkedIn profile. You have a lot of connections. They know you. They're in the same field. They're in the same area. They trust you. You have trust at scale. You create more and more content. They engage with it. And then your visibility goes through the roof. So companies will then just see, I need a software developer senior in London, whatever. You
Hmm.
will come up, you will, because you will have like the maybe one of the best visibilities in this niche for
Hmm.
your search term. And this is like the holy grail then, as an where you
Yeah.
want to go.
Hmm.
This is the final goal. It takes a lot of time. You should invest years into this, but in the end, this will then be your personal brand, which you then can leverage, and you're not dependent on a company anymore. You can basically switch way more easily and have more opportunities, and then your career goes into overdrive.
Of course, of course. And I see that some people actually go into only content creation, right? They have some newsletters, like a paid newsletters, or they have, just like write like for different, I don't know, in different areas, I would say. So they're like content creators, and they also like pretty make pretty good living. And they can also go into the coaching and career consultant, like for example, as you are. So they're like more opportunities than, right? I don't know, I kind of see it like a chess game in a way, because you're also like strategic. You're like thinking strategically, you make your moves, you kind of you do some actions and daily actions. So I would say, like, for me it's really helpful when I plan, for example, my day, right? What exactly, how I'm going to, interact, and what exactly I'm going to do on LinkedIn, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and do it like daily, daily, daily. And if something doesn't work, just okay, why? Like stop for a moment, like take maybe a step back, like see the bigger picture, and like, okay, this doesn't work because, well, something is off, some piece of the puzzle, right? Some just like off the roof or something. So you kind of pay attention to that as well. So yeah, I feel that it's like a lot of work, definitely, as you said. It's like a long-term game with definitely that will pay off. But yeah, and I don't know, maybe the last question for today. When you don't see immediate results, because as you said, it's a long game, and people might get discouraged maybe in the beginning, when you don't really see the fruit already. You're like planting seeds and like doing all these things, but yeah, it kind of takes time, and maybe you feel like you're going nowhere. So do you have some advice there?
What I told before, so you shouldn't start like if you have like 20 connections, don't start posting yet. Try
Right.
to do it manually first,
Mm-hmm.
and go into the posts and like the profiles of people in your sector, in your area, and try to build it manually first. Get into conversations with them. It will be possible if you put in the work. People are responsive to very responsive actually, if they know, hey, this person couldn't have started this conversation if he or she didn't go into my like past experience, maybe browse the company website, browse my GitHub repository, read my blog and so on, because
Sure.
almost no one is doing this. You just get spammed. Every developer knows this, right? Ads from mid-level to whatever. You just get spammed 10 times a day. Hey, do you want to have a job? Like, no, I just want to be. And you then, if one honest like message comes through, you will just stand out so much. So do this manually first. This is my answer. And then once then you start from a baseline of say 2,000 followers that
Mm-hmm.
know you didn't just added them, right? And they just kind of mindlessly just accept it. No, you went with this like you had a goal, purpose, and then you start like publishing stuff. You won't have the situation you described. You would have to create very bad content, and if you already executed this like as strategically as we just discussed, it means you were able to also research those topics, and you will also then research how can I create an engaging LinkedIn post. How does a bad one look? And then you probably also read a lot of LinkedIn posts up until now because you went into the comments and you had a comment and so on, right? So you have a feeling of what works at the current time in the current quarter, because LinkedIn also changes each quarter a little bit. What
Sure.
works, you start creating content yourself, and it probably won't be crickets because you invested into this groundwork. Maybe one last tip
Uh-huh.
is to use a tool like Pro Writing Aid or Grammarly or something that kind of can is AI induced, or something like can change your sentence structure. because if you start out writing, you're a communication expert, right? Your sentences don't, they're way too long, they're convoluted, they have way too many part sentences and so on, comma, and then you can just kind of highlight it like pro writing aid, and then say, hey, shorten this sentence, and it's the same sentence, but it just sounds so much better. So I use this a lot because my native language is German, Swiss German especially.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to leverage those tools, and then your posts will also look better.
You once again you reminded me of John, I think Jordan Cutler's post, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Gregor. Okay, I don't remember exactly. Okay, but there was such a diagram or something that you write something like, okay, let it be like a post, but don't stop there. Do the editing. So editing is like 80% of what you're doing. 20% it's writing, but then when you add it, you kind of make it short, compact, but without also losing the nuances and without losing the meaning. So this is like step two, right? And not like overlooking the step two. Yeah, definitely. So this is already the ground of communication skills, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so one, if you say like 80% is editing, I would even add 80% is your headline. So
Oh
the
yeah.
headline, like the first, I mean, people that maybe don't notice at first, right? Those are basic copywriting rules, or how do you write them, like articles and so on. Like the headline is super important, because if it's not very intriguing, no one will read it. If you're before you had like magazines or newspapers, and you would just kind of do the same as we do now with the feed, yeah, on on feed based social media platforms. So you have to have a hook, a headline that is very catchy. So put a lot of effort into your headline, and then of course put also a lot of effort into editing once you created your post. And then basically, if you do those two things and also leverage tools like Pro Writing Aid or others, um, you will have a good learning curve. Like your posts will improve way faster than most others.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure. And you can also use some storytelling techniques. So there are like so many, things that you can do. And yeah, for sure, for sure. Wow, that's been really great. I think we covered like everything that we wanted, right? How, like, in this topic, and maybe like one little thing that I wanted to add that helps me with all this game of LinkedIn and everything is curiosity. I'm getting, like really curious, and I'm like learning all the time. So it becomes not like like a chore that, oh, I have to do this, but it transforms this into, wow, that's interesting, like, wow, that's exciting. And I can go kind of deeper, and yeah, I explore like different ways and meeting new people. And it becomes so natural for you to write that comment that would kind of add some value to whatever the person has written, because you have already that kind of mindset, and it just goes from there. And yeah, it can be like really helpful. At least I don't know. That's how I feel. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for sharing all these amazing tips with us today. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about, well, communication skills direction, right? If you are, okay, you switch the company, what's next? Right. It's still, the game still continues, right?
Yes.
And yeah, if you have switched, or maybe you haven't switched, maybe you have been already like in the company for some time, and yeah, and but you anyway you would like to progress. And that's where soft skills and communication skills, they always come really handy. And yeah, that's what we're going to talk next time, the same time on Thursday, December 21st. And I will share the link in our, right now, in our, just a moment, comment section, if I can do this. Okay, I will post it a little bit later in the comment section, and of course I'll write a post about it and everything. And yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you for yeah, like sharing everything today and being so generous. And yeah.
Yes, if again, we said in the beginning, if someone wants to watch this later again, because it was probably a lot of information, we will record. We are recording this. We are also we will publish this so you can find it again. And also the next session we will do the same, so it will be out there, so you can also kind of rewatch it maybe in 3 months or later when you will need the information. Right? Could be that you just start now and you have this whole onboarding phase. So this is maybe not so important right now for you, but later. And also, if you want to know more, just reach out. Like on my profile, you saw my profile probably. Just DM me or DM Maria. And
Of
yeah,
course. All right, so thank you so much, everybody who watched. And yeah, and we'll see you again next time.
yes,
All right. Yeah, so thank you. Bye.
thanks.